Okay, hi everybody. It's 11 on Friday, which means art journal demo day. I'm gonna jump right into it. It's been a little while since I've actually pulled out my journal and worked in it. My popcorn ceiling. So let's see. Get this set up so you guys can see my spread. So I thought it's been a little while since we flipped through my journal. This is the one I worked with for the most part during COVID. I've gone, back and forth, of course, but this is the Dina Wakley mixed media journal. This is the 11 by 14 version, which is very generous. And so, yeah, it's kind of fun to go back and see. You can. I was working a lot with ice at the very beginning. Maybe I'll pull that out again today, so you see that in a lot of my my spreads early on. My chevrons. This is when I realized I had to pre-prime my pages, and which I might do one of those today to show you how to do that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to go through and see the moods that I was in. This one I went in and put that in on top during a craft demo. You can see I was playing a lot with my numbers, and then that was when I pulled out and created my resist stencil. I did this cutting it out on my Cricut, and let's see, in this one I went back in later and did a little demo about doodling. I actually don't like it particularly, so I'll probably cover that up again. This one looks like it needs another couple of layers. This one, you can see the resist in there. I love this page still. I love just the color contrast, and this feels super done. I might actually scan this one and print it. Here are a couple that I did around the holidays where I was sort of working tonally. This one I think was from a class. And then I skipped some pages, not sure why. Have a lot of collage in this one. Love this one. I pulled out some of the neons and love how they're sitting on top. And you can see it's all dry now. It only takes weeks. And this one, it's been a while. I can't really remember the last time I worked in this journal. So this looks like I was trying to kind of threw everything in the kitchen sink at it. Again, completely dry now. Debatable whether or not I'll go back and put anything else on here. Here is this, let's see, which one is it? It looks like I had some of this thrown in there, which is this glittery stuff, but it's also super chunky. Like, I don't know if you can see just how thick that stands off the page, but it's pretty remarkable. Oh, and then there's this one. Went through a little neon. All right, so I'm gonna work on this page today. This is the both craft paper. It's worth noting that this is fairly thick, and you can see that the book itself is warping. And what happens, of course, when you work like this is that it ends up, I don't know if you can tell, it ends up sort of bowing and sliding to one direction, which can make it a little hard sometimes to get an even layout. If I'd been smart, I would have maybe worked, in the front and then in the back and the front and the back so that I had even layers. But yeah, who thinks of those things early on? Not me. All right, I happen to have these Deco Art, Americana Deco Art paints hanging out. I'm just gonna start by brayering color on. I don't use the brayer a lot other than in jelly printing because, you just have no control as to where you're putting the paint, but that's one of the things I like about brayering, so that's what I'm doing today. Just gonna brayer a bunch of layers on. And then there's a way sometimes that the paints combine. I had these out for my jelly printing demo yesterday, which I really enjoyed, and I really liked how these colors merged with each other. Do you see how I get a little bit of a purple out of this one when it mixes with that blue? I do have this paint, and it's Decoart, but it's also Americana. Okay. So it might be in there under the Americana.
Yeah, it's under Americana.
And I have these all came from the store, so and they should all be in there now. I'm getting a lot better about showing you things that I actually have in stock.
And it's listed under Americana, just
Great.
in case.
Americana, everybody. If you're interested, I've got a bunch of colors. I don't have all their colors. I pretty well have all the colors in the Martha Stewart, which I'm wondering if you can get any more anywhere else, because I know that I can't reorder it. So once I'm out of the Martha Stewart paints, I'm out. So I'll probably pivot to these, filling out my colors on the Americana, just because I do like having a nice cheap Deco paint in stock, and it's about half the price, if not more, than the art paints that, the designer paints that I carry, the frescoes and the Dina Wakeleys and all that end up being sometimes $3 or $4 an ounce, whereas this is $2 for 2 ounces. So again, there's some quality issues there, but for the price, this is actually an excellent paint.
Michelle says hi.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for tuning in. Ugh, keep going. So this is another thing with, I like to get color down fast. And sometimes brayering does that, and sometimes it doesn't, especially when you have a lot of space like this. So in a second, I'm going to pivot. Pivot. It's kind of fun just to leave a page kind of, nice and random with the brayer marks on it too. That can be fun. Kendall and I were just talking about what to do with sort of old pages and stuff like that. And one thing I'm going to add to the schedule is artist trading cards. And sometimes a nice place to start is to take an old journal page or an old piece that you started and cut it into artist trading card sizes, which is 3.5 by 2.5. Literally the size of a sports trading card, if you think about it in those terms. And then to start there with it. That's often when I'm going to a convention, which I haven't done for a year and a half, I will make a whole sheet of mixed media, and then I'll cut it up. And so each card looks, will have a flavor that, works with all of them, but they'll each individually have their own interest. And then I put my business card information on the other side. It's my business card. I hand them out. My business card. People like it. Of course, I don't always feel like giving them out, because if I know I'm not going to order from someone, then I don't give them my fancy cards. Sometimes it can be a little awkward. Like, oh, I don't know, are you card worthy? Some Seinfeld fans might remember the worthy conversation. Actually, I'm getting into this. So, you can see maybe how the layers are interacting with each other, and I've got this nice variety of color and a little bit of texture. Brayers have their own little texture rising, right? Because as they pull up, they sort of splatter the paint around, which brings a texture to, sort of rough texture. And on this side, it's definitely interacting with the bumps and things from the other side of the page, for sure. All right. Now what? Let's see. I'm going to use my modeling paste for Liquitex. So Golden's version of this is called molding paste. Liquitex is called modeling paste, which for someone who's a little on the dyslexic side like me, gets very confusing. But all right, you can tell I've been jelly painting. I have bubble wrap everywhere. This is my new favorite stencil. Problem with cleaning up is then you have to turn around and reach for everything instead of it being right in front of you. You can see how thick this is. It's very frosting-y. The idea behind this stuff is that when you put it down, you leave it, it keeps its shape. So it's not in any way fluid, which is what I like about it. Do you have any eyeballs today, besides Michelle?
To me and Michelle.
Yeah, some days are like that. It's funny. Some days you get hordes of people, and some days you get just your favorites. So there's a good start. Get my heat gun out. Heat gun this a little bit. All of the things I've put down so far are acrylic, so they're all going to dry watertight for the most part. I mean, you can scrub acrylic off if you try hard enough, but something I like to do when I have some texture and I'm using a brayer, and that's to roll out a little bit onto my brayer and then roll over the top of texture. And then you can see what it does is it hits those highlights on the texture and really pulls it out. You can do that a bunch of ways, but a brayer is a really fun way to do that. Dry that up a little bit and then add some more texture. So the Deco arts have a little bit of a matte, chalky finish, which I love. I prefer chalky to any sort of gloss or even a semi-gloss, personally. All right, we're gonna do another layer of this here. Ugh. I'm starting to already get some of the interaction that I like so much with layers of color and texture on top of each other. That is what I live for, just right here. Love the grungy look I'm getting in there. You know, it's interesting that even using bright colors like this, that a grungy look is accomplished just by having, you know, a little bit of a rough paint layer. Yeah, this is one of the new ones from the Crafters Workshop that we got in. They're the ones, you know, we did that flip through, remember, with all those stencils. And
the 12 by 12s. Yeah.
Yep, that's a 12 by 12. And they're an amazing stencil company. I have a million stencils. We all know that, but I have a million of their stencils because they're high quality, beautifully cut, beautiful designs. I don't know if you can see that. A lot of the ones I have hanging up on the wall right now are that company, and she also produces almost all her stencils in 2 sizes, so you can get them in the 12 by 12, but also 6 by 6. And then she also does little ones that you can use for art. Artist trading cards. Just talking about them. And so yeah, her company's great, and it is a she's a woman-owned business. She personally took my order.
That's great.
Yeah. Personally emailed me about payment. It was a big order, so she was eager to get paid. And
she designs them all and then has them made.
she has designers that work with her. Her company's fairly big. She used to have her own retail store, so she's really great because she understands some of the decisions you make from a retail standpoint. You know, obviously, a producer, a manufacturer sort of has their own goals, and they don't always work with a retailer, especially an independent store like me, because I can't buy in the quantity they want, or I'm not interested in the particular product they're trying to push. So she's great. She makes good suggestions, and she totally understands the calculations that a small business like me goes through. And but she is now working with Ken Oliver. So Ken Oliver's powders, she's producing those, and I guess the stencil butters are Ken Oliver's.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Have
I don't.
you worked with those yet in the...
I haven't. That's a good
Do you
point.
wanna
I
grab
haven't.
me one?
If you can find it in the box, but
Oh, they're in boxes.
there's still. If you go into the inventory hallway
Yeah.
with the shelf on one side, on the floor, I think the box is on the floor.
Okay.
We've been a little overrun by boxes recently, so that's why I have to talk that way. All right, I'm gonna keep. I'm doing what I do. I'm just layering up. I'm putting layers of texture with layers of color. Usually I use fluid colors, but I'm just sticking with this one palette today of these 4 colors. You know, these are all the same tonally, and then a dark. So, you know, hue is the color you're using, tone is whether it's dark, you know, or where the value is. A tint is when you've added white, a tone is when you've added dark. So, you know, I try to use the proper vernacular around it. I almost always get it right, but you know, value-wise, these are actually very similar to each other, and then you can see that this is a dark. So that's kind of, the dark creates these nice moments of shadow in the work, which is what I'm going for. Keep going, keep going. So now I'm to the point where I'm layering textures on top of each other, which is what I love to do. I'm thinking about, thinking about what to do with this journal in the end. People love looking at it, which is awesome, but I am a process crafter, which means that I do it because I love the doing, and I'm not always attached to the end result. And so what I might do is just cut all the pages up in here into artist trading cards. But I haven't decided to do that yet, so please don't panic. Okay, so here's another thing. Once you've got a lot of texture down, you can start scraping over it, you know, like brayering over it, but I can also scrape over it and add layers of texture that way, or highlight texture that's already there. So you can kind of see how that, the colors that were already on the texture was underneath and now popping up through the new layer of texture I just put down. Having some fun. Brayering, so I'm gonna keep going with that. It's working for me today.
It's a C in inventory.
What? You can't find it?
I was gonna get lost in there. I was gonna get swallowed up.
Oh my gosh.
I came back while it was safe.
Kendall is she saved herself. She did not end up buried in inventory. There's some good stuff in those boxes, I'm telling you.
Stuff in there.
Yeah. All the Danica stuff is still waiting to be inventoried too. That's all those beautiful bags and mugs and things like that.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff in there.
Okay, so couple things. One is that there are spots where I've got the vividness of the colors, you know, working with each other, but I also have spots that are getting a little muddy. So when I see that happening, one thing you can do is come along and just put another layer of texture or color down on top of it. And when you do that, that muddiness falls back and just becomes background. Right, so I don't know if you can see how that worked right there. This modeling paste dries really, really fast, which makes me happy. So let's think. I'm gonna think about what color I'm gonna throw down now, because yeah. So now I'm going for the kind of, you know, vividness. I want some color contrast on there. So intentionally choosing a color that will pop on top, so that yellow. And of course the yellow is mixing in with the blue I had on my brayer, and I'm getting this fun little turquoisey green. Just nice. Yay, having so much fun. Let's see, what do I want to do next? Okay, so one thing I did do is I pulled out yesterday, and I was using these on my jelly printing, which came out really nicely actually. But these are Tim Holtz's latest release, these little cardboard stencils, and they're his alphabets. If you use his dies or any of his stamps, you'll recognize the font. They're cardboard, but once you've used them a little bit with the paint, they're going to seal up, just like the Faber-Castell ones that I use a lot do, up to that point here. And as long as you take, you know, are a little aware that you can't leave them on, you know, sitting there for a while, because when you pull them up, they'll separate. They will last a really long time. You know, most people are using these as elements in mixed media and assemblage cards and things like that, and layouts, but I'm playing with mine as stencils for the moment, partly because I love what's happening to them with the paint. And so once these get super painty, then I'll throw them down probably into a layout. So now I'm just going to pivot, and now I'm just going to put these down as my texture elements. And remember, I'm not trying to get a perfect impression of the stencil, because when you do that, it looks a little just plunked. So I like the fact that I'm going to have sort of raw edges. So I'm putting the texture paste on with a palette knife, and then I'm moving it around with this, it's like a squeegee, but it's a silicone wedge is what it's called. So we will have to put this down, put this up on Instagram and tag Tim, see if he notices this.
So it looks like there's 5 of those cardboard stencils for $4.99. What a great, what a great treat.
I have a bunch of his new stuff in. I have his ribbons. I don't carry all of his doodads, because if I did, it would just be a Tim Holtz store, which, believe me, that's not a bad thing, but I do have lots of designers that I like to feature. So he has several spinners dedicated just to him at this point. You may have seen the spinner, the slow spin, and the spinner profiles on Instagram. We've been upping our Instagram game recently, so hopefully you've noticed. We love it when you comment. I love knowing that we've reached you. And then don't forget that all of these videos end up on YouTube. We're doing the YouTube thing now, partly because it just makes a lot of sense for everything to be in one place. And so if you want to see these later, you can go to the YouTube channel instead of having to scroll through all the things that are on Facebook. You can find them all in one spot.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, we're becoming one of those people who like, share, and subscribe. But if you subscribe to it, eventually we get to the point where we can do more with our account. Right now they're like, you only have 4 viewers. We're not really that interested in you as a content provider, which is fair enough. But if we get more people who say that they want to see our stuff, then it gets upped, and I reach more people and all those things that people do this for. Okay.
We got 5 new subscribers as of last night.
Yeah, on YouTube? Fantastic.
Yeah. On YouTube.
Yeah, let's see if we can drown out some of the more negative voices on YouTube with our crafty goodness.
Exactly.
Shall we?
Well, when you become a subscriber, if you want, you get a little ping when there's a new video posted.
Yeah,
so
good point.
It's a nice reminder.
And those of you who are not on Facebook will be watching this via YouTube because that's the only other place to see it. And one thing about seeing it later too is that you can scrub through the parts that you don't necessarily want to see, like the drying, like the paint drying. Alright, I do have a couple things I want to show you. I don't know if that's dry. It is not. This has to be dry for this, so I'm going to spend a second. I'm going to pull this out. I don't know if that's one of these on. What do I want? Haha, we're going to go back to this. It's been a while. Okay, this is Seth Apter's ice, and it's still nice and pliable. And this is his the pink color, which is called Rose. And I just want to show you what happens when you have a lot of texture down. And you can scrape something over it, and it's going to highlight that texture, assuming the texture is dry. So you can see this color. You can see it interacting with, it's very, it almost exactly matches the pink I was using. Look at how it's interacting with the other colors I have down. And remember, this is translucent, so when you put it down, depending on how thin you scrape it, you're going to get tonal variations, value variations, so you're going to see that it'll be more pink the thicker it is, and less the thinner. So I'm just gonna... Now this stuff is glossy. It's the only thing I don't super like about it, just because I don't like gloss. But, well, I should say it's like a matte gloss, semi-gloss when you dry it. But it is an acrylic. So I should take that back. It's more of a matte finish, but because it's translucent, it looks a little glossy on the page. I know this is super off topic, but I watched Promising Young Women last night, which I hadn't seen yet.
You watched what?
Promising Young Woman last night, the movie. Have you seen it? Oh, it was not what I was expecting. I think because the way they advertised it, it kind of looked like one of those superhero, like, anti-superhero movies, but it was not. It was about justice, vigilante justice.
Okay.
Kind of interesting.
Was it worth it?
I do. I thought it was probably because I had no expectations. I knew that it had been nominated for stuff, and that the actress does an amazing job. But I thought it was really compelling.
Okay.
It has stayed with me.
Good.
Usually, I don't talk about my things that I watch
Yeah.
because I don't usually think about them much afterwards.
Great.
All right. I have muddied this up again, so you know what? I think that might be good for today. I might let this all just dry really, really well, because you see what happens when I let that happen, when it gets really dry, I then have a lot of more ability to add color without it muddying up. So I think I'm gonna let this dry and I'll return to it. And, got a lot going on. I really didn't let the texture paste dry long enough with these numbers and things like that. So I'm gonna let them dry now, and then next time I come in, I'll see if I can't pull those textures out a little bit using some of the techniques that I like to use. I think that's it for today. Let's turn that around. Thank you for joining me. And, the store's open all the time now, Tuesday through Saturday, 12 to 5. Come on in if you want. And if you still feel that you want an appointment and to be the only one in the store, just message me. We can figure out a time that works. So, all right, see y'all soon. Bye.